On Friday, February 6, 2026, in the highlands of Minembwe, hundreds of Banyamulenge civilians held a demonstration in regards to their security that is rapidly deteriorating since the withdrawal in good faith of the AFC M23. Jessica tells us more.
As you can see, despite the rainfall, there are hundreds of people of the Banyamulenge community here in Minembwe and South Kivu, Eastern DRC, demonstrating against the ongoing persecution by the Congolese government. Men, women, and youth are protesting the destruction of homes, of churches and schools, as well as a humanitarian blockade that is preventing aid from reaching civilians in conditions that are worsening an already severe crisis marked by insecurity and forced displacement by the DRC government. These were civilian houses, completely destroyed by Tshisekedi's drones launched from Kisangani. Following the protest, the Banyamulenge community submitted a memorandum to the U.S. Department of State, urging Washington to reconsider its support for the Kinshasa regime. The memorandum highlights deliberate violent attacks on Banyamulenge civilians, mass cattle looting, sexual violence against women, and aerial bombardment in the Banyamulenge community areas, acts that violate human rights and international humanitarian law. The protesters seen are calling for independent investigations, justice, the opening of humanitarian corridors, and stronger protection, warning that lasting peace in Eastern DRC depends on ending impunity and protecting civilians.
To understand more about the situation, today I'm joined on call with Dr. Alex Mvuka, political analyst of the Great Lakes region and researcher on issues of conflict and security. Can you, in a few minutes, just describe for us the situation in the highlands of Minembwe and give us the meaning of the demonstrations that have just happened?
Thank you so much for having me. Really to give you a snapshot of what's happening in the highland mountain of South Kivu. There have been ethnic cleansing going on for the last 8 years. We're talking about the whole plateau of highland area of South Kivu, from Rambo to Milimba area. For the last 8 years, the government and sponsored, our army, the national army sponsored the militias. They have been attacking Banyamulenge simply because of who they are. Banyamulenge are Tutsi ethnic groups, 100% Christian. Really, from that time, they've been destroying their villages and asking them to go where they come from. They don't know where they come from. They are Congolese, indigenous, but yet they are unwanted in Congo. 85% of their villages have been destroyed. 600 churches have been destroyed. Schools have been destroyed. So the area remaining is Minembwe, which is now almost like a concentration camp. All IDPs are located there. From the villages have been destroyed. So what have been going on for the last 3-4 years? There have been a series of humanitarian blockade, really causing humanitarian crisis so that they can push the communities who are left to leave the DRC. You're kind of surrounding them with a heavy military deployment. There were about 12,000 Burundian forces, and at one point there was 7,000 FRDC soldiers and countless armed groups supporting them to uproot this community from their homeland, their ancestral land. So to cut a long story short, what's been going on for the last 2 weeks? There have been a series of increased bombardment by Sukhoi and drones, all really sent by the National Army, FRDC, the government of Tshisekedi, sending drones from Kisangani, from Kalemi area to target the Banyamulenge. Now, the allegation is that these communities are associated with the M23. You have to remember that the resurgence of M23 rebellion started in 2021. And the killings of Banyamulenge started much, much more earlier. So that reason is not funded. They are being persecuted because they are Tutsis. So the last 2 weeks, series of bombardment by drones, really indiscriminately bombarding villages. So many places have been affected, destroying homes. So yesterday demonstrations was really demonstrating against the Washington government, against the Trump administration. This is historical. It's the first time in indigenous communities in the middle of Africa, in Congo, in highland mountains of South Kivu, demonstrating against a Trump administration, 18,000 miles from Congo. Why? Because their interference in trying to address conflict in DRC has been detrimental to the communities, has affected the human rights of the minority groups, Banyamulenge, simply because of a reckless decision to ask AFC M23 to leave Uvira. It was an endorsement. It was a green light for FRDC and armed groups, malicious armed groups, terroristic armed groups, some of them who are on lists of terrorists in America. They have been attacking the community. So yesterday message was the Banyamulenge community demonstrating against Trump and the Trump administration for what they have done to really ask AFC to leave Uvira and giving really green light to endorsement of this whole series of armed groups to attack them, and especially the drones, the use of drones to attack civilians.
And given this current situation that you've just described for us, could you talk to us a bit more about why the liberation of Uvira was important for the Banyamulenge community, and how is the withdrawal of M23 impacting the lives of civilians today?
Again, very good question. Let me really use the three pillars: the past, during, and after AFC. Before AFC captured Uvira, Uvira was almost kind of managed almost like an apartheid system. I know when we talk apartheid, it's a system of persecution from white people in South Africa to black people. But this is another form of apartheid between black people. So Banyamulenge were locked in the city. They had no access to market. They had no access to public water. There were 17 roadblocks between Uvira to Baraka, asking individuals, members from Banyamulenge community, to pay 150,000 franc, Congolese franc, to pass each roadblocks. So not only that, Uvira was a hub of and there's so many armed groups, warlords, people like John Makanaki Kasimbira, people like Rene, people like Amuri Yakutumba, all of them are collaborating with the politician in Kinshasa. Some of politicians that's very well known under terrorist list of the European Union, really claiming officially that collaborating with these warlords. That was the situation in Uvira. So attacks really to the high plateau of Minembwe, of Itombwe, of Rambo, of Bijombo, in the homeland of Banyamulenge, were coming from Uvira. There was not access to be able to access medical treatment, to access food. Supply from food from Uvira was impossible. So it was really that such a situation. During AFC, when AFC came to Uvira for 1 month, it was the first 1 month of freedom for Banyamulenge. People were able to come out from their homes. People were able to access market. They were able to access services like anyone else. And this is not to support or one way to be biased toward the AFC. That was the situation. We have to be to give a fact. The Burundi army were able to leave the high plateau. There were about over 12,000 troops, and gave really the high plateau much more kind of a freedom after all these years. After that M23 was asked to leave, 80% of Banyamulenge home were attacked. 5 churches were destroyed. and many NGOs offices were destroyed. Ebenezer Group, IGFI organization, they were destroyed. 15,000 to 18,000 people left Uvira. They fled to Kamanyola. And 40 people were killed simply because they look like Tutsis. And it was chaotic, and still now. Armed groups took over. This is no state actors that government doesn't control. So you can imagine how chaotic the town is. And now a fear is now coming back for Banyamulenge. The blockade has restarted again in High Plateau, and the bombardment has restarted after AFC left Uvira. That's the situation at the moment.
Dr. Mvuka, thank you so much for these insights, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
That's our latest update for today. Thank you for joining us.